and welcome to WomanVision TV. It's where women talk. I'm your host, Nadia Jordana. My guest today, Mel Scholl, is an alcohol and drug abuse counselor, and she also is an empowerment coach for women. She has an interesting life story to tell about how she came to be doing this kind of work, and also some important information to share. Let's go talk to her. Hi Mel, welcome to the show. It's so good to have you here today.
Thank you so much, Nadia, for inviting me. I'm really delighted to be here.
Well, you know, we tried a couple of times last winter and it was 20 below or colder each time we tried. We decided to put it off until we could both wear green.
And it's spring!
Okay, well, I have a couple questions for you. You work in two areas, alcohol and drug counseling, and you're also an empowerment coach for women. Tell us a little bit about what you do in both those areas.
Yes, thank you. They're actually somewhat connected, but not entirely. I work with women who struggle with alcohol and drug addiction. Mm-hmm. And in that work, I do individual counseling. I assess the client where they're at. I'm really about educating the women on the availability of my work and helping them figure out if they do have a problem. The other work as a coach intersects if I'm working with a client that's dealing with drugs and alcohol, but the client doesn't have to have drug and alcohol issues to work with me as an empowerment coach. And that work is really phenomenal, helping women get out of their rut, get unstuck, get out of autopilot, mm-hmm. and start to live their life consciously again and make decisions that will actually lead them to the goals that they create for themselves.
Oh, how great. Well, you have a very interesting life story that happened, and that brought you to the work that you're doing today. Let's hear that story.
Thank you. Yes. Well, I knew for a number of years that I probably was drinking too much, and I come from a family of alcoholism, and so I was aware but didn't want to face up to it. But September 9th, 2002, there was an incident in my home. I had had a lot to drink, and I pretty much passed out. And when I woke up the next morning at 5 o'clock, my little Welsh Terrier, who normally would be right beside me on the bed, mm-hmm. wasn't there. And I heard him barking outside, and I realized at that moment that I had left him outside all night, mm-hmm. unbeknownst to me, because I was in a blackout. Mm-hmm. And it was September, as I mentioned, and so I went to let him in, and at that moment I realized that had it been one of the nights as we've just had in this past winter, he probably would not have made it. Mm-hmm. And that just really got to me in a place that touched me deeply. And I realized that I needed to make some changes. And so I made some phone calls, and I found a place to go to treatment. And little did I know what a difference that would make in my life and how my life would turn 180 degrees. From that point, I did go to treatment, and 2 years later started mentoring women at an inpatient treatment center, which I loved. And then I started to be aware of the counselors and what they were doing with clients. And at the age of 53, I decided to go back to school.
Terrific.
And I got my addiction counseling degree and worked for some agencies for a few years, and then 6 years ago opened my own private practice, and then 4 years ago became an empowerment coach as well. So it's been an amazing journey. I feel like this is really what I was meant to be doing all my life, and the path that I took is what brought me here.
I think so, and what a transformation, and what a wonderful life now that you can have. You can be happier, healthier, and help other people. So I think that's an important part of it.
So all of that and more.
Yes, yes. Well, it seems to me that society associates drug and alcohol addiction with the younger crowd, the single set, going to bars, clubbing, things like that. But I heard you speak recently to a group about the rising tide of drug and alcohol abuse in the over 50 age group, retirees and women working at home, working from home. What can you say about that to enlighten us?
Well, you make many good points. And of course, the young people, that is their social activity. That's how they socialize. And so there is that huge realm of problem drinking in college and shortly after that. But there is a silent epidemic with women that goes beyond those years. I just read a wonderful book by, last name is Johnson. She's an award-winning journalist in Canada. And she wrote Drink, The Intimate Relationship Between Alcohol and Women. Fabulous book. And she talks a lot about how as women advance in their careers and all the pressure around that, they look to drinking. And then as women age and they become empty nesters or they go through divorce, they're living alone, the propensity to turn to alcohol as a solution for problems becomes very evident. Drinking alone can become easy for somebody who is living alone, and there's a lot of ways to hide that.
Oh, absolutely. So if this is happening with retirees and women in midlife, is it something that family members don't readily see until the problem is more serious?
That's often the case. We who are addicted are very clever. And we create very interesting systems to what we think hide the problem.
Yeah.
So oftentimes it goes unnoticed for a long time. The other part of that equation is that sometimes family members don't want to look at it.
I can see that.
They don't want to admit that their family member has a problem, and they don't know what to do many times.
Oh, yeah.
That's the biggest challenge, I think, is they don't know what to do. So it can go on for a long time. There's lots of ways that, and I know that from personal experience, that we can hide it.
Well, what are some of the warning signs that family and friends can be on the lookout for? And if they do have concerns, is there very much that they can do?
Well, some things that I will tell people to look out for would be if your loved one starts isolating or not participating, perhaps even reacting angrily in inappropriate ways to something that's one wouldn't get as angry as they are getting angry about. So just those types of things. Again, the isolation. And the other thing that I look for and listen for with people is somebody that might say, "Oh, I deserve a drink." That to me, that's a lot of people say that in our society.
Oh, yes.
We are in a society now where alcohol is obviously legal, and it's accepted more and more as a way to self-soothe, and that can become a dangerous problem for people.
And it works for a while.
It does. I've said that many times for myself. It solved many problems for a long time until it became the problem. And just to answer your question about what loved ones can do, I would suggest, if anyone is concerned, that, of course, express the concern with the person that you think is having the problem in as much of non-judgmental way as you can. But aside from that, get as much education about alcohol and drug disease as you can. The more information people have, the better equipped they'll be to deal with it.
That makes good sense. For someone watching who feels they may potentially have a problem, what would you say to them?
I would say the same thing. I would say educate yourself. There are many ways that even online you can take tests. There's different measurements of am I drinking too much and what is too much, and there's a lot more now that's, of course, I'm in the field, so I'm very passionate about following up on information, but today there's so much about what really is a drink, what's 6 ounces versus a big tumbler of wine, and those kinds of things, and what's healthy and what's not healthy, and how are people using it. So in addition to that, I always am so open and welcome to people contacting me just for information. I really want to help people to deal with this problem that they might have.
Oh, absolutely. And is there anything I haven't asked you that you want to be sure to say?
The thing that I would like to add is that something I've really been more focused on recently is not so much the people who are addicted to alcohol in particular, but those who abuse it on a regular basis. And again, in our society, it's very acceptable to go out and drink a lot, maybe just on the weekends. But what people need to understand and learn is the long-term effect of that is going to be very damaging to them. Not only their body, but their mind and their spirit. And they may never become addicted, but it still is damaging them and is going to have a public health concern going down the road. So I'm looking to educate more people about that now too, and that's kind of bubbling up to the surface, and I'm glad to see that, because people have, again, that idea, well, I deserve a drink, or that's my go-to solution.
Yeah. Well, it's almost like a form of early intervention. Before you get addicted, recognize that this might be getting to be a little too much.
Absolutely,
Yeah, I think so.
absolutely.
Well, and before we go, if someone is watching and wants to get a hold of you or get more information about this subject, where should they go?
Well, they can call me at 612-791-6330. And I also have a website, which is womenspathwaystohealth.com. And a person could also just Google alcohol or drugs, and lots of information will come up. But I'd like to just mention again that I do offer free consultations to anybody who would even like to just talk about themselves or someone else that they're concerned about, because my passion is really helping people get healthy.
Oh, wonderful. So if somebody had some initial concerns and questions about whether or not they need to go further, they can call you and you'll give them a consultation.
Absolutely, and I've worked with women who I've been able to help, and some women that have needed even a higher level of care. I really want people to get healthy, and women is my passion to help women live a healthy life.
Mel, this has been an eye-opener. Thanks for coming in today.
Thank you so much, Nadia, for inviting me. I appreciate it.